January 30th, 2015. I was still only 13 years old, soon to be 14, living abroad in Phnom Penh, Cambodia, and studying at an international school. This time of hormones and initial coming of age is infamously memorable for nearly everybody, and mine was no different. I was really starting to discover my identity, even if it was kept only introspective for a while. During this era of my life, like many others of my generation, I was facing a lot of serious online bullying. This was primarily due to the popularity of anonymity features on many social media platforms at this time. I was certainly on Tumblr, for better or for worse, and learning a lot more terminology and information in regards to understanding my own mental health issues and sexuality. Especially as a young queer with very little LGBT influence around me, I craved a community. The toxicity of Tumblr is far too complicated to get into for this video, but I will give it credit for being a useful resource for a young Carolyn who felt lost and confused, looking for answers and relatability. Other than Tumblr, my biggest obsession was YouTube. And as a kid who had no money for video games, I relied on Let's Plays for my slice of the gaming content. I was, like many, an avid PewDiePie fan. I still remember the exact moment of where I was and what I was doing when I saw PewDiePie post the first part of this Let's Play. It looked pretty, and the title intrigued me, so I gave it a watch. I was already hooked. I needed more, and PewDiePie was not posting fast enough, nor was he taking it as seriously as I was hoping he would. So I immediately went and watched someone else's playthrough of the first episode. And needless to say, I became obsessed. The primary reason why this game touched me as much as it did was simply because of the location it was set in. Arcadia Bay, Oregon. I am actually from Oregon and lived there most of my life prior to moving across the globe. Trust me, I loved my life living abroad, but I missed those beautiful landscapes and natural sceneries of the Pacific Northwest every single day. Life is Strange felt like home already. Why is this game important and worth your attention in this time economy? Before going any further into praising this game, I want to acknowledge its faults. With each acclaim that Life is Strange received, it would receive an equivocal amount of criticism. While many critiques were fairly founded, plenty of the hate Life is Strange faced early on was blatant misogyny towards a video game targeted towards female audiences with female protagonists. Women, yet alone teenage girls in this society, are simply not allowed to enjoy anything without facing heckling of various degrees, especially so when those interests are rooted in femininity of any form. The first thing that comes up on Google, if you look up Life is Strange SJW, and if you don't know what SJW means, I'll spare you the lobotomy, but it is a link to a Reddit post, of course, and yeah, it's pretty bad. This user's comments about the second installation is much worse, but you can get a good idea of the harassment that fans of this franchise face due to this bigoted narrative. I very much remember having a lot of apprehension about telling any of my male gamer friends about my love for this franchise, knowing I was just saving myself from needless teasing and berating from their end. Anyways, the game is not perfect by any means either. There is a considerable lack of diversity in race, and especially in body type, in Arcadia Bay. Skinny white girls overrun Blackwell Academy. The lip syncing is non-existent, and the script is questionable. The gameplay can be astonishingly awful. The time travel feature has narrative rabbit holes aplenty. And with all this being said, no other game series has ever impacted me the way this one has. Now presenting my love letter to Life is Strange. First of all, the voice talent. Ashley Birch, I'm in love with you. The emotional impact, the expansive and detailed world of Arcadia Bay and its citizens within it. And on top of it all, it's also surprisingly accessible to play, being available on many different platforms. There are plenty of reasons to experience this game for yourself while you can, but I will warn you that I am about to spoil plenty of all of the 5 episodes of the first franchise of Life is Strange, so continue at your own discretion. I will be discussing the lessons that I personally learned from Life is Strange, delving into the underappreciated details that deepen the game world realism, and analyzing how that all affects the player. The inescapability of consequence and accepting failure. This is Nicolas Pousset's 1638 painting titled Et in Arcadia Ego, which translates to, even in Arcadia, there I am. Arcadia means utopia, and the I is representative of death. Therefore, the phrase is saying, even in utopia, there is death. Death is the only great equalizer of mankind. Death follows. The single certainty in life, seeing no class, race, identity, or faith, a debt we all owe. Now, I bring up this work of art for an important reason. If you recall, Life is Strange is set in the fictional small town of Arcadia Bay, Oregon. You catch that? Arcadia? Max's time travel powers and why she suddenly acquired them are never explicitly explained to the audience, and I am not here to argue those semantics. Though I will say that I'm sure we have all at some point or another in our messy lives wished for the ability to turn back the clock, have a redo button, regret, failure, disappointment. It's inevitable to undergo these circumstances at some point. Max's rewind power is the physical manifestation of these fantasies, the escapist neo-reality where we could do no wrong and never be caught in a mistake ever again. It's simple. Just divorce consequence from the action by deleting the action itself. As Max's choices and timelines unravel, and we eventually understand the fate of William, Chloe's father, an emotional zenith of realization is reached. You removed the veil of childhood lies. All that remains is the inescapable truth. You can't do everything right. You'll always have to let somebody down, and sometimes saving one person means hurting another. Pain is inevitable. Failure is inevitable. Unfortunately, we don't have magic, and bad things just happen sometimes. We can't change it. Besides, how much is your choice really worth if you can just take it right back immediately? On the topic of death and its inevitability, let's talk about Chloe Price, the embodiment of this notion. Now, there is a lot of discourse on the ending of this game, but the quote-unquote correct ending was being foreshadowed in every single episode, and in the background of every scene, the graffiti. Please go ahead and kill me. Just gotta let go. I want to die. this is bigger than you. Not only are these tags rather explicitly pointing you to the topic of demise, but graffiti is literally representative of Chloe as a character, just as Max is to her film cameras and selfies. It's details like these that make Arcadia Bay feel lived in. The game developers clearly put a lot of effort into the small details of this game, generating an expansive environment to explore. The messages within the graffiti are by no means the only example of impressive creativity and attention to minutia bestowed by the developers. My favorite is the use of color theory and symbolism, specifically with shades of red and blue. It is initially made clear by the walls in Mr. Jefferson's classroom, where you start the game, besides the lighthouse cutscene. It is covered with artistic and educational posters, multiple of which express the importance of color theory itself. The color blue often represents goodness, comfort, imagination, sensitivity, trust, and loyalty, while red usually symbolizes power, danger, aggression, deceit, and rebellion. Examples of this blue seen throughout the game are in Chloe's hair, the blue butterfly, the blue jay. Connected to this is on all of the missing posters with Rachel Amber, you can see that she has a blue jay feather earring, Kate's marker, Joyce's hair clip. Examples of this red being seen in the game are Victoria's shirt, the principal's mug and shirt, Nathan's jacket and car, the dark room binders, and Warren's undershirt from episode 4, when he can absolutely whoop Nathan's ass, whether you choose to do that or not. In color symbolism, the excess of blue can also represent coldness or depression. Now, who is our most prominently blue character in this game? Chloe Price. Interestingly, Chloe's arm tattoo actually has a prominent blend of these two colors, representative of her being at the crux of these two tropes. The tattoo placement can metaphorically show that she is wearing her emotions on her sleeve, the numbness of endless grief, interlaced with temper and disobedience, all looped around what, of all things? A skull. Finally, our very own Max Caulfield has on 3 wristbands, 1 red, 1 blue, and 1 black. I find this to be indicative of the choices you have to make as the player, navigating Max throughout Arcadia Bay and how she treats the people within it. In the end, while you are in control of Max, you are not Max. If you relate to her, then that's wonderful, but it is not meant to be a self-insert protagonist. However, this can lead to a severe conflict between player action and player motivation. Alexander Galloway is an author and professor in the Department of Media, Culture, and Communication at NYU. Within his 2006 release, Gaming: Essays on Algorithmic Culture, Galloway testifies that video games are an active medium, unlike literature or film, requiring constant physical input by the user, literally pressing buttons, performing actions, and making choices. It is all about the relationship between the game and the player. Life is Strange certainly has a strong enough narrative value that it could easily translate into the medium of film or television. So, why did it need to be in a game format? Especially considering that the gameplay mechanics of this particular enterprise are rather lackluster. Extraction from the active medium leaves the player with a less intimate relationship to the apparatus itself, regardless if that's a console, PC, mobile phone, etc. As a result, we beget a disconnect from the diversion of realism this game is trying to explore through the use of time travel and themes of action and consequence. Finally, Galloway argues that in order to achieve realism in gaming, developers must 1. Capture the social realities of the disenfranchised, and 2. Inject the game back into the correct social environment of available players where it rings true. In my case, Don't Nod, the developers of Life is Strange, took this recipe for realism and served me a 5-course meal. A female-empowered perspective set in the Pacific Northwest, championed by themes of identity, moving to a new school, self-worth, nostalgia, trauma, and uncertainty. Life is Strange was simply my perfect storm, per se. A complete encapsulation of the social realities I really resonated with among release. Max, Chloe, and all the many other citizens of Arcadia Bay will truly live in my heart forever. This story shaped who I am as a person, and it was a pleasure to revisit in 2022. Now, if you knew me in this era of 2015, especially if you were one of my friends that I forcibly made familiar with this game, I'm sorry, but I would still recommend it to this day. And with that, here's to the game that truly made me realize life sure is strange. Have a good day. Thank you for watching.